Hello, everybody. I'm Kathryn Taylor, and welcome to Let's Get Writing. I'm really excited. I've got a great show for you tonight. I think you're going to love it. But let me set the scene for you. Imagine living on an island off the coast of an island. And imagine being an artist on that island with your own art gallery. And imagine being a writer. Does that sound incredible? Well, I think it does. And that's the life for my next two guests who live on Fogo Island, which is off the coast of Newfoundland, Canada. And that's where we're coming from, Newfoundland, Canada. And they live there with their two daughters, Scout and Bella, and their dog. And get this, his name is Johnny Cash. So they've got a good sense of humor. And they are the authors of The Little Red Shed, which is a most endearing children's book with a good message for all of us. So I think you're really going to enjoy this. I'm going to introduce you to the husband and wife team of Adam and Jennifer Young, and we're just going to bring them up here. If technology works, and it does. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Welcome to Let's Get Writing.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yay. And we were a little unsure how our signal was going to be coming in tonight from Fogo, but from my end, you guys look great.
Filtered, yeah.
Always doing these shows, there's always sometimes potential for technical things to happen, and we appreciate anybody out there understanding that. But so far, so good. And you had a good day in Fogo, and we're ready to go.
Yes.
Well, this month is Pride Month, and that was why I wanted to start off with your book, The Little Red Shed. And because it does talk a whole lot, the message is about differences and how to appreciate them and why they can be so beautiful. And it makes such a lovely story and message. And I just thought we'd start by you talking a little bit about the book and what was behind that, why you wrote it, and so on. Take it away.
Well, we're both former teachers and as parents as well, you meet so many different kids and you see kids struggle in different ways. And I think that when we looked at writing a book, it was always we wanted it to have a strong message towards kids that, you know, you are the way you are is perfect, the way you are made is fine, and believing in yourself and having confidence and those sorts of things were all that we were focused on, really, and the things you wanted to say to kids, to all the kids you saw struggle, that you couldn't really get through to them, and you just hope that someone connects with that. So I think it comes just from our life experiences, really.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. And you also have two young children, so I
Yeah.
guess they help to bring that message into your home sometimes, how they may be feeling, or friends of theirs, and it would probably make you more sensitive to some of these issues these days.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
does. I mean, even like being teachers are we dealt with kids who are struggling and not feeling great about themselves. But then when you have your own kids, it's a whole different ball game. So you really like the empathy kind of gets way up there at that point where you really want them to be themselves and you want them to feel confident in themselves. So a lot of that in what we put in this book was for them in that way.
Yeah, and without giving away the whole story, why don't you talk a little bit about the story and our main character, which in this case is not a person. It's a beautiful little shed.
It
I
is,
mean,
yeah.
this is Newfoundland. I mean, we all have a shed.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, the without giving away too much, it's about a little stage that wakes up one day and the color that she was had washed away. So she's now a bright, beaming color. And everyone that she knew and all of her friends remain that same color that she was used to and that what she used to be. So it's about her coming to terms with her new look and her new kind of way of being, and not only her coming to terms with herself, but other people coming to terms with her as well. So yeah, it plays with a bunch of different kind of concepts and ideas, but we tried to keep it simple. That was the whole goal of this book, was to keep it as simple as possible.
Well, that was where I was going to go with my next question because that's a really big topic. And, when you're writing a children's book, you have to take it down to, easy reading. And I'm not sure exactly what market you're targeting with the book, but I was kind of thinking it would be anywhere from sort of two up to maybe seven or eight. You're the teachers. Is that kind of where it would fit?
Yeah, I mean, a few people have reached out and said, like what reading level and those sorts of questions. I mean, yeah, you're right in that sort of sense, but we also wanted, even though it will be an easier read for just say an older child, a child who's 10 or 11, the message we were hoping would still connect with them, and even though it's an easier read. So yes, the actual reading level might not be overly high. It might be maybe grade two, but
Hmm.
yeah, we hope that, and we've heard back from like so many people who said, their children were older, and it brought tears to their eyes, just to have that message. So that's exactly what we, wanted.
And just to give you the feedback, Vicky Nee, who works with me, said the same thing. Like, oh, I read the story, and it, it brought tears to my eyes, and I was like, yeah, Vicky, it's a very moving little story. You feel for the little red shed, and
Yeah.
so I think perhaps it's good for any age. I'm going to throw that out there. It's a nice message,
Yeah,
and
Thank
yeah,
you.
and especially this month, with it being Pride Month and, um, thinking about differences in the way people can be and people finding where they fit, the message is simple and it's sweet. It really
yeah,
is.
and we
But
wanted
more
to
than
apply
that,
to all
go
that. Yeah,
ahead. Sorry, Jennifer.
yeah, no, and that was one of the groups, the LGBTQ kind of group or whatever. We didn't want to direct it towards any particular, but yeah, that's the kids that you do see struggling, you want to reach out to.
Yeah, and like you say, it can be more than that, or it can be
Hmm.
that it'll fit many messages. And on top of that, it's such a beautiful, whimsical, colorful, and engaging book. And that comes, I guess, back to you, Adam, because you are the visual artist in the family. I know that you both collaborated on the writing,
Yeah.
but you brought the book to life through your art. And I just want to mention that you have young galleries there on Fogo Island, and we don't we will probably have a look at some of your art through the book.
Yeah.
And I think if people aren't familiar with your art, that they should visit your webpage and actually just give them the webpage right now, if you would.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to find. I mean, if you type in Young Studios in the Google bar, you'll find my website. Or if you type it in on Facebook or Instagram, you'll more than likely see my work in and around there. So, but yeah, it's my work is very whimsical. It's very fun. Um, it's a kind of a lighthearted, fun, colorful take on the landscape of Newfoundland and East Coast in general, really. But at an early stage in my kind of professional art career, I started to adapt the architecture to look a little bit more human. So that's really why this little stage fits so well with the book itself. So it was a perfect marriage between our educational backgrounds, my artistic background, Jen's writing background, and the theme and subject matter that I'm so used to doing in my artwork. So it was a nice combination of everything.
Well, we're going to have a look at that in a minute, but you said like the perfect marriage. So
Yeah.
I heard that and I had to just grab onto that. You two work very closely together, and you worked on this project, but I know, Jen, you're also involved with the studios and so on. So how did that all go for you? How does it all go working together like that?
Be
No,
Doc-
careful.
no.
this is Dr. Kathryn here.
Yeah.
No. We like you said, we've been working together from home now for the last couple of years, so it doesn't even. Yeah, it was no different. We, as cheesy as it sounds, like we really are, best friends, and we can like hash things out and tell the other one like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't even an issue at all. We work really well together.
We do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Hey, we have a consensus here.
Yeah. I was laughing because I didn't know what he was going to say, but yeah.
Well, when we were talking yesterday in advance, he had a very interesting answer.
We weren't live yesterday.
It was a fun answer. Yeah. But no, it's so good to see that because I've also in my career worked very closely with my husband and people have said that, how does that work? You work a lot during the day and you're together at night. And I think actually if it's a good fit, if it's a good match, it works very, very well.
Yeah.
And it gives you a chance to take advantage of certain things that people working in different environments on different schedules don't get to have.
That's
So
right.
thumbs up for working together. And so
Yeah.
when you you two, well, one of you is from Newfoundland and one of you is not. So I just wanted okay, audience out there, see if you can guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's the Newfoundlander?
Because we do have a book to give away.
Yeah.
And I do want to mention that as well. We're going to have a book draw for the Little Red Shed. So if you can make a comment under the show and just any comment, we're not going to make it difficult, but if you want to guess early on who's the Mainlander and who's the Newfoundlander, you can do that. Any comment and you'll be entered for a draw for a book, and we'll be drawing for that on by Friday noon, so you have a bit of time. But anyway, tell everyone a little bit about your stories and how you came together and ended up, of all places, on Fogo. Take it away.
Well, I grew up here on Fogo Island. I'm from Joe Bett's Arm, and I literally grew up just down the road. So moved away like everyone else, went to Mon, did my first degree, lived a little bit in Halifax, and went to do my education degree in New Brunswick. And that's where I met Adam, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we did our education degree together, and then after the first term, we came here to where Jen's from Fogo Island, and we spent the summer here. And I fell in love with the place, so we came back, and we came back all in between 2005 to when we actually moved here in 2010, and we decided to kind of uproot everything and just kind of throw the dice and see what happens. So it was definitely, this is my forever home, but it wasn't the place where I was born. So I was born in Nova Scotia, Halifax, and I was raised in Moncton. So most of my family's still in Moncton and Halifax now, but I see this as my real home now.
Wow. So
Yeah.
Newfoundland must have, and actually, it left an impression on you, and I think that comes out through your artwork. Let's not keep people guessing anymore. Pull up that book and let's let them see some of your work.
So yeah, when we were doing the book, a big um, like idea that we wanted to keep with it is to have both pages contain the artwork. So you're not kind of shifting your attention between two different ideas. It's the the text is small and to the point and simple, and the image itself hopefully absorbs the viewer into the scene and really kind of gives them a more of an emotional reaction to what Little Red is going through throughout the whole book. So I know you're getting a little bit of shine there.
A little bit, but it's coming through. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I painted all of these using acrylic and my and drew back into it and airbrush back into it. So it's my kind of signature style, signature painting methods. And I wanted to have that kind of very traditional way with this book. I didn't want it to be any form digitalized, whatever. I wanted to have that human quality, like human touch to it throughout the artwork. So that was a very strong intention on my part.
And it really does come through because when you said you wanted to bring out almost a personality through, say, little red, and it does. Like you're looking at a shed, but at times when I look at your images, windows become eyes,
Yeah.
and stilts become spindly legs of someone
Yeah.
not too steady on their legs, and the characters come to life. Actually, it might lend itself someday to a beautiful animated little film.
I would love that.
That's
That's
what
one of
he.
my
That's
big
his
dreams.
dream.
Yeah, I
Really?
mean, if you
Yeah.
look through my artwork, I mean, back into like 2008, you'll see that I was playing with those ideas even back then. My early work was mostly centered around these kind of very almost Tim Burton-ish types of stages that were
Hmm.
crawling along the water's edge, and then I started to just put the two windows in the on the face of it to give it that more human quality. So yeah, it's always been in my mind, and I would love for someone to pick this up as as an animated series because I think it'd be really cool.
Well, we can certainly throw that out there tonight. If there are any animators out there
Yes.
who see this, keep in mind that there's a really great project here, and it would be. I
Okay.
could just so picture it. It would be
Yeah,
amazing.
it would be
Yeah,
really fun. Yeah.
it would be. I know when we were talking the last time, I asked you kind of the process of how you went through, and I don't know if you have your storybook with you tonight at all. Does it happen to be there?
It is. I came prepared.
Fantastic. Could
Yeah.
could we see inside your head a little bit then?
I don't know if you want to go there. When we were, well, this is like both myself and Jan. This is a brand new venture for us, so we had no idea how challenging a book, even a kid, like you'd think a kid's book would be a simple thing to do, but it really turned out to be much more difficult than we ever imagined. Um, and when we first came up with the concept, we came up with the story, and then after we came up with the story, the images kind of came through piece by piece. So these are kind of the first steps in creating it. So this is all of
No.
our
So
notes and things we added and took off, and then I started to try to marry those ideas together with some images. And like I said, I wanted, this is the, I guess, the page divide that I was first drawing. This is a few years ago. So, and when I was doing this, for anyone who is an aspiring author or illustrator, to try to get, my advice, I guess, a little bit of advice would be to try and get the ideas down quickly because they're fleeting. Sometimes you'll have a great idea, and then it just, if you don't act on it right away, write it down or draw it out, it's gone. And I don't know how many of those I had where I was just constantly, I don't know if it's because I'm in early stages of some sort of mental problems, or but I find that it just goes really quickly. And if I don't draw it out, write it down, they're gone.
Hmm.
So it was important for us to kind of sketch this out and write it down and act on that passion and act on those impulses. So yeah.
Wow. And it's so nice to see that. And that's a really good point, what you're saying there, that if as an artist or an author in whatever genre it might be, that if you don't get those ideas out of your head and onto paper quickly, they are gone. It's like a dream. You have a great dream, you
Yeah.
wake up in the morning and you go, "Oh, I won't forget that." But
Yeah.
if you don't take your pen and whatever, or your notes on your phone and make that connection right away, it's so fleeting.
It
It
is.
really is.
Yeah.
Um, it's amazing. I just want to mention we have a lot of people who are watching, and I just want to thank everybody. I see people from Adam Mainlander. Okay, you have names for your guests. That's Gina Young. I think I'm thinking she's got some inside
Yes.
story there.
Related.
But there are others. They picked Adam, the great artist. A lot of wonderful, wonderful comments here. Can't wait to get their copies. People watching from Stephenville. Do you have relatives out there? I don't know. And a lot of really wonderful, positive comments coming up here on the side. So I just want to thank everyone who's
Great.
watching for your comments. You all get in the draw, and that'll be by noon on Friday. So don't forget, you might win a copy if you keep commenting. and don't, if you share this video after, by the way, everyone, try to link people back to the original one, because that's the only way you'll win the book. Comments have to be on the original broadcast. But thanks everyone for watching. It's so nice. Oh, someone says, ha ha ha, my neighbors. that's Courtney Coffin. Your neighbor's watching.
Yeah.
Just letting you know
That's right.
you got fans. Anyway, just to go back to the writing, because we try to be a bit educational here as well as entertaining. Jen, you collaborated, but Jen, I think the writing might have been a little bit more in your shed. Everyone says, "Oh, a children's book, that's easy, easy, easy peasy to write." And you kind of referenced that maybe it wasn't all that easy. Why don't we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, hands down, the biggest struggle was knowing the message and knowing what you wanted to say, but saying it as simple as possible. So, when we first started to write, for us, our favorite children's book, we bought it for our little girl before she was even born. Our first daughter was The Giving Tree. And it's a book that like our 6-year-old can read, and but it has such a powerful message, but it's so the language and the wording is so simplistic. And that was our, like, not that we can aspire to write a book like that, but that was our goal, to have something that, yes, it's easily to read, but it has a great message. So when you look at the sketches, we kept going back and realizing it was wordy. So you try to take 5 words and condense it into something, a little bit smaller, and go back over and back over. So hands down, that was the hardest part, is to make it a little bit simpler. Yeah.
Well, you've got some critics right there in the house. You have two children, two young ladies,
Yeah.
and Scout and Bella. So are they your kind of your test readers, or do they give you the thumbs up or thumbs down on this?
They did. Like you said, we started writing this probably 4 years ago, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in the early stages, it's just pointless because ourselves, we don't even know where it's kind of going. But once we were getting it more hammered out and reading it to them and getting their reaction was crazy. So once you see that they respond, you think, okay, maybe other kids will respond too,
Yeah.
And one of the comments here, I'm just looking, and it rhymes. That's Susan Osmond. Thanks for that comment, Susan. Kids love that. And
Yeah.
so did you start it with rhyming, or is that something, how did that all come about?
That's funny too, because that was
Yeah.
something we went back and forth on.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, I like rhyming books. The kids like rhyming books. It makes it easy for them to kind of make those connections. They get their word families together and they start to kind of build a vocabulary. So we thought that was important, but it made it way harder.
Yeah, it makes it more challenging.
Yeah, it was much more difficult to create a book that rhymes. As much as you'd think it would be easier, it's not.
No.
Oh, my kids are acting up. my 4-legged kids. Let's hope they don't act up too much. But that's a great point. And if you're out there thinking of children's books, that the fun part of rhyming, I think kids can kind of get involved with and almost think of what the next word might be.
Yes.
And it is a technique for sure. And it's interesting that you debated it. Very interesting. Yeah. And that it was a little harder. Let's get to your publisher. I think we need to give some thanks to Breakwater Books there, because they helped you get this out to people. So how was it finding a publisher and working with a publisher? Publishers in general don't put out a lot of children's books.
No, we didn't. We never knew that. We wrote it, and like we said, and then 4 or 5 years ago, when we really started to write it, we were both working on our masters. Scout was still a baby. We had a lot going on. We were teaching, so it was work on it a bit and then leave it for a while. But when we felt like we had something kind of hammered out, we actually had a little bit of a connection to Breakwater, because they had reached out to Adam and wanted one of his images for the cover of like a poetry or a short story book that they had done.
Mm-hmm.
So we literally took that email address of the person who asked for permission to do that, and we were like, so. And we got back like a generic, like you said, we get like hundreds of submissions every year. We actually only do maybe this many. So, but we'll review it, we'll get back to you. And then within no time, someone had gotten back and we're like, we're definitely interested. Let's talk. So we were really excited.
Yeah. Or as we say here in Newfoundland, less than this, more than this, or no time at all.
Yeah.
We have our ways. But
Yeah.
there's a beautiful little dedication in the front of the book. Just hold it up. Your daughters must be very pleased.
This was this is what they liked the
They
best
keep
about
looking
it.
at this all the time.
But we obviously dedicated it to our two little girls, Scout and Bella, or Bella and Scout.
And they were like so proud. And we didn't tell them
Yeah.
until we actually had the hard copy, like the finished copy, come in the mail. So when the box came in and we were like, "Oh, girls are here," and we showed them, we were like, "Open it up," and they were like, "Oh, cool!" Like they were so excited. Yeah.
Well, they'll be your biggest supporters in promoting this book.
Yes.
It's very nice. There's still lots of nice comments coming in. Your studio is breathtaking, beautiful paintings, and we know that. Um,
Thank you.
we're getting close to the end, but before we wrap, the internet, and I mean, I know you're living in rural Newfoundland, but a lot of things you do, that's a very important part of what you do. Any tips for anybody out there when it comes to marketing?
Marketing, well, yeah, it's a tricky thing. You just got to keep building on it and explore every kind of avenue you can get into. For me, I built my artwork through pretty much social media and helping and getting my artwork out there through people sharing my work. And so over the last 10 years, I've been able to kind of establish myself as almost like an online gallery. Well, being from Fogo Island, I mean, we only get a few months of foot traffic a year, so it's nice to have that kind of connection to people all year long. And for people who are at home and they're not able to leave, they can scroll the internet and see my work and other people's work that way. So we're really in a pretty special time right now.
Mm-hmm.
So and especially during this time in the world with COVID-19 going on. I mean, everyone is pretty much stuck at home. So thank God for the internet because otherwise we'd
Yeah.
all be insane.
Well, and same thing for me because my show was carried on a community television channel, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to open it up to the world. So
Yeah.
I jumped immediately on this platform. So there have been good things. There's a few more comments. There are lots of nice comments. You guys will have to go on here and read this, but someone here said they have their little girl, I assume, has made them read the book roughly 85 times. So I'm sure that they could do a recitation now. Thanks for that comment, Melissa. Your book is popular. And I just want to, there you go. I want to thank you both so much for coming on and sharing this information. And to those of you out there, Let's Get Writing goes live on every Wednesday night at 7:30 from The Rock. So please tune in and send your ideas along. We're going to be running regular shows till the end of June, and then I'm going to start going around the province and just doing some random stuff. So I'm going to see you guys in Fogo.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Can't wait.
Well, thanks so much. And both of you, thank you. And enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too.
You too.
And to everyone out there, thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you again soon. And thanks for the comments. And I hope you win. Bye now.
Yeah.
Thanks.